I want to share something with you today that I think changes everything once you see it. It's a concept, and the deeper you sit with it, the more clearly you start to understand why you do what you do. For example, why your relationships feel the way they feel, or why you keep running into the same patterns. And it all traces back to one thing: a lie. But not the kind you tell other people. You see, the most dangerous lie you'll ever tell is the one you actually believe. A lie you tell yourself so often and so naturally that it stops sounding like a lie altogether. And what makes it especially dangerous is that every single day that lie goes unchecked. The gap between who you say you are and who you're actually being, that gap continues to grow. And that gap isn't neutral. It's quietly costing you your relationship, your peace, your time, your finance, your health. And most people won't notice until the damage is already done. And I really don't say this lightly because I've been watching this pattern for over a decade in real people and in real time. And what I discovered changed the way I understand everything about why we do what we do. So let me explain. I've been working as a healthcare provider in the field of athletic therapy since 2014. During those 10 plus years, I've been fortunate enough to help out thousands of athletes navigate around their injuries all the way to return to play, right? And something kept showing up that my curriculum had only sort of scratched the surface of. So you see, I'd have these athletes whose bodies were fully healed. Like strength is good, range of motion is good. So physiologically in clinical setting, everything checked out. But when it came time to compete, something blocked them. It was a limiting belief of some sort, right? A story they were telling themselves, kind of like, I'm not the same athlete I was before, or my body's gonna fail me again. Like that sort of stuff, right? So, as I realized that the gap here isn't between their injury and their recovery, rather, the gap is between what they are capable of and what they believe they're capable of. You feel me? So, I started going a little bit beyond my formal training. On my own time, I started digging into the psychology of performance and belief systems. And from what I learned, I started offering simple, proven tools to my athletes. Uh, Not necessarily as a clinician prescribing treatment, but rather more like as a someone who genuinely cared, sharing a reframe that might help, right? And I started noticing that the athletes who actually tried those tools, the outcomes were night and day. Like none of the physical protocol changed. It's just their story up here that changed. And that made all the difference. And here's another thing that I noticed that it's the tools that actually changed their behavior were almost always simpler than you'd expect. They weren't some complex frameworks. They were just one small thing done consistently. So now, I've been working on this for years at this point, right? Both professionally applying to my athletes and personally and slowly applying it to myself. And I recently had the incredible privilege of becoming a husband and a father. And when I held my son for the first time, um, something shifted in me that I wasn't ready for. And it wasn't a motivation or inspiration. Honestly, it was fear. Yeah, it was fear. A weight of responsibility greater than I could have ever imagined because I realized every unresolved gap in me would eventually become something my son has to navigate. You know what I mean? So that version of me who cuts corners, or the one who says the right things but doesn't always live them, that version just wasn't going to be enough. Right? Not for my wife, not for my son, and certainly not for myself. And I couldn't fake my way through fatherhood, right? So what that meant was getting brutally honest about how I was actually showing up every single day. That's when it really clicked for me that this gap isn't just something I see in athletes, it isn't just my problem, it's everywhere. It's in how we communicate, it's in how we handle our time, and how we show up in our relationships. So, what is a beautiful pivot? Well, we say we value time, right? But we spend it like it's infinite. Or we stay in jobs, in relationships, in situations and patterns that don't serve us. We say we want growth, but when the time comes to actually change, we freeze. And it's not because we're lazy or broken. I believe it's because most of us have never had that moment, that real, honest, gut level moment where the truth we already know in our heads finally drops into our hearts. Where it stops being something we just cognitively understand and becomes something so visceral we can feel it. Right? That moment is what I'm calling the beautiful pivot. And that is what this channel exists to create. You see, every video on this channel is going to take something we already know and hold it up like a mirror. Not to judge, not to lecture ourselves, but to help us see clearly so that we can actually do something about it, right? And some of these tools, they may sound too simple, almost like common sense at times. And honestly, I thought the same thing until I actually tried them consistently. Yeah, I think that's a common gap as well. That knowing something and living it are two completely different experiences, right? And I would also argue that there's a good chance we've all walked past these tools hundreds of times without recognizing them as viable options. But that also tells us something important. Simple doesn't mean easy, right? These tools are backed by real science and they do work. I've watched them work on my athletes over a decade and I've watched them work on myself. And speaking of myself, if you met me 10 years ago, you'd be watching a very different person right now. My friends used to tell me, and they weren't being mean about it, they were just being honest. Hey, Jason, we enjoy your company. You're a great listener. But when you try to express what you're thinking or feeling, you sound like, I don't know, a caveman. Jason, hungry. Jason, eat. Wooga, wooga, wooga. And honestly, they weren't wrong. I had maybe 5 emotional words in my entire vocabulary. I'm fine. I'm good. I'm tired. I'm hungry. I'm stressed. That was it. That was my whole toolbox. And I believe a part of that was how I grew up. So I was born and raised in Korea. And in my culture, especially for men, the admired thing was to handle your struggles alone. So don't you show it and don't you talk about it. Just endure it quietly and come out on the other side without anyone knowing it was hard. And I wore that like a badge of honor for years until I realized, okay, overcoming something silently isn't the same as overcoming something well. So, through the same process I was using with my athletes, right? Identifying the gap, building a bridge across it, right? One small tool at a time, I started applying it to myself. And through years of small, deliberate, beautiful pivots, and today, my emotional world is unrecognizable compared to where I started. So, When I talk about upgrading your resolution, about going from, let's say, 6 pixels to high definition, I'm not theorizing. I lived at 6 pixels for a large portion of my adult life. And I know now what it takes to upgrade. So here's what this channel is going to look like. You see, we're going to look at behaviors most people don't often examine. For example, why we snap at the people we love most, or why we cannot take a compliment but absorb an insult instantly, or why we interrupt people in conversations and what that's really about. See, these aren't just quirks, these are signals. And when we start paying attention to those signals, everything shifts. So let's start with the pattern that we'll recognize immediately. The ones that hit right away and make us go, yeah, that's me. And then we'll go deeper. Where exactly are these patterns coming from? How are they connecting to each other? And how are they compounding into bigger misalignments and starting to show up in our finances, our relationships, our career, our health, and other domains, right? And each layer builds on the last. So if we stick with this, we're not just picking up random tips. Instead, we're building a real intimate understanding of ourselves. But I need to be upfront about something. This channel is going to ask something of us. It's going to ask us to be honest with ourselves. And I'm talking about the kind of honesty that doesn't look good on camera. The kind that's uncomfortable, the kind we'd rather not look at, right? But hey, we're not here trying to feel good about staying the same, are we? Right? So if you're thinking, yes, I want to actually live aligned with what I believe, then my friend, you're in the right place. If you actually want to grow and contribute something meaningful, then brothers and sisters, let us do this together. But if that kind of honest reckoning isn't what you're looking for, then chances are this isn't for you. For those sticking around, I want you to know something. After more than a decade of watching people hit this exact wall in clinics and conversations in my own life, I've seen what works and I've seen what doesn't. And the beautiful pivots I'll talk about on these channels are not theories I read about. They're things I had to face in my own life. Things I've tested, things I've failed at, and things I eventually figured out. So I'm not standing above anyone looking down. I'm standing right next to you, looking at the same gap, closing it, just like you are, with a decade of observation behind what I'm about to share. Every single video on this channel will be backed by real research, real psychologists, and real studies. Names you can simply look up yourself, because we're not here for opinions dressed up as wisdoms, right? Instead, we're here for tools that actually work and the science to explain why they work. And when we get to those tools, we're going deep. Not just some 5 tips to be mindful. Not some surface level advice you've heard hundreds of times. I'm talking about the kind of depth where you walk away knowing exactly what to do, exactly what it's going to feel like the first time you try it, and exactly what to do when it doesn't go perfectly. It's application over acquisition, my friends. That is the standard every video. And this isn't a channel where I post a video and just disappear. Every week, I'm going to set aside some time to come into the comments and actually engage with you. Because if I'm asking us to close the gap between what we say and how we show up, then I need to show up too, right? So that's the deal. Real science, real depth, real presence. Oh, and one more thing. My background is in healthcare, in athletic therapy. So in working with people one-on-one at their most vulnerable. So everything on this channel is built on that experience combined with real published research from the scientists who've studied these patterns for years, right? So if you're ever dealing with something that feels bigger than what we cover here, please reach out to a qualified professional. I say that because I genuinely care about your well-being more than some of my view counts or whatever. Oh, speaking of my view counts, there's one more thing I want you to understand. And honestly, this might be the most important thing I say in this entire video, actually. You see, one of the things I realized when I became a father is that conversations are limited. Not just in how often they happen, but in how clearly I can say what I mean in real time, under real pressure, with real emotions running, right? My son's young. One day he will be a teenager, then an adult. And there will be moments in his life where he needs the kind of insight that took me decades to learn. But I might not be standing right there. Or I might be standing right there and just not have the right words in the moment. I mean, trust me, I know that feeling. Remember? I was a caveman. Wooga, wooga, wooga! I know what it's like to have something important to say and not be able to get it out clearly. But here on this channel, I can put my thoughts together in the most clear, most coherent, most effective way I know how. So that one day, when my son is old enough to watch these videos, he has access to the very best version of what his father learned. The version I spent hours getting right? I would make these videos for my son alone, even if nobody else ever watched them. Even if this channel got 0 views, I would still make every single one of these videos at this exact standard. And I share that with you because I want you to understand something. What you're receiving on this channel is the same standard of care I'm building for my own son. And that's not a marketing lie. That is the literal truth of why these videos exist. So when I say real research and real depth, it's because I absolutely refuse to hand my son anything less. And I don't want to hand you anything less either. And here's what I believe sits at the heart of all this, is that we don't just do this work for ourselves. You see, the real beauty of our growth is in what happens next. The love and care we pour into ourselves doesn't just stay within us, it overflows into our relationships, into our families, into our communities, every room you walk into. Your beautiful energy reflecting back to you through your wife's or husband's smile, through your children's eyes. Isn't that absolutely worth pursuing? The world we're living in needs more love, more compassion, and more understanding. And it starts with each of us being honest enough to look into the mirror first. So, welcome to Beautiful Pivot. The gap is real, but so is the work we're about to do. I'll see you in season 1, and I ain't going easy on us. But before we end this video though, if you would please allow me, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge 2 very special people who mean the world to me. My beautiful wife and our beloved son. To my wifey, thank you for your love and your constant support. I'm incredibly grateful to walk through this life with you. And to my son, being your father is one of the greatest privileges of my life. I'm so excited for the years ahead as we grow and learn together. And for those of you watching this right now, I want to ask you to do something simple. Take a moment today to reach out to someone you love. Your parents, your partner, your child, a friend. And just let them know you appreciate them. Let them know that they're seen, they're heard, and valued. We don't say those things enough. And to my son and his potential future siblings, when you grow up and watch these videos one day, I hope something here helps you. I hope it encourages you to grow, to think deeply, and to become the very best version of yourself that our God created you to be. But more than anything, just know this. Daddy loves you so much. But my man, you really gotta stop peeing on your own beautiful face when we're changing your diaper.